Reverend Gordon Maitland wears many hats in the Diocese of Huron. Reverend Rob Henderson sits down with him to talk specifically about his work as National Chairman of the National Prayer Book Society of Canada. We join their conversation now.
Anyone that's ever taken part in an Anglican liturgy, wherever you may have been across Canada, will know that there are certain aspects to it that are familiar and comfortable for many. And as I'm sure you've probably heard in Anglican circles, we are a people of the book in many ways. And today on Life and Faith, we're going to take a few moments to talk about a book, a very important book today on the program. And we're going to talk a bit about as well something to commemorate this. So Gordon, welcome. And I guess the first question is, what is the National Prayer Book Society of Canada?
Well, I'll talk about our origins, I think, is the best way to approach that. The Prayer Book Society was formed in 1986, the year after the Book of Alternative Services was introduced into the Church. And although it was a book of alternative services, in some places it rapidly became the book being used in church. And there were concerned laity and clergy who felt that perhaps the older prayer book would be lost as the new book was introduced. And there were a few unfortunate cases where there was some insensitivity in introducing the book of alternative services. And the concern was, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to our heritage with the Book of Common Prayer? So the Prayer Book Society was formed as initially as a kind of lobby group to say to the wider church, let's not forget our traditional Book of Common Prayer and hold on to that and let it be available for those who want to use it. So it began that way in the heat of controversy, if we want to say that. But of course now, 25 years later, it's not so much a live issue in the sense that the rawness of the introduction of a new book. However, there is still concern that the prayer book be used as an integral part of our worshiping experience. There are people who like that liturgy, who want to see it used. It's a part of their life, and there's some wonderful aspects of our heritage contained in it. So our hope is, as we move away from merely reacting, to be proactive and to hold up the positive aspects of the traditional rites in the life of our church.
And who is part of the Prayer Book Society of Canada? I know you mentioned that there were some clergy and people coming together in its origins to make sure that the Book of Common Prayer was still held up and being used in our congregations. But has the makeup of the society changed at all over the years?
Not significantly. It was a lay initiative for the most part, and it continues to be a lay initiative for the most part. So the vast majority of our members, there's maybe about 400 nationwide, the vast majority are laity. And then some interested clergy like myself, and some of our leaders in the society are certainly keen lay folk.
Right. So
I am certainly not representative of our membership in the sense of being ordained. Most of our people are lay people.
And as we head into the new year coming up shortly, I know this is a special year for the Canadian Book of Common Prayer and the Canadian version as we get ready to commemorate the 50th anniversary. And I know that the Prayer Book Society has some upcoming events and things to kind of hold that up. Tell us what we're looking forward to in the new year and what that's about.
Well, let me give a little backstory to that, which is when the Anglican Church of Canada got its independence from the Mother Church of England, we, at that point, were enabled to produce our own Indigenous version of the prayer book. So the first one came out in 1922. That was the first Canadian version. And then, of course, over time, things change. So in the 1950s, it was felt we should revise this book again. And it was first published in a trial basis in 1959. And then in 1962, the book became the prayer book of the Anglican Church of Canada. So while drawing on traditional material, it is unique to Canada. It's our expression of the prayer book rite here in this nation. So that was 50 years ago, and now we're going to celebrate that and hold that up. And we hope through a number of events to ask people to celebrate using the prayer book, especially on the first Sunday in Advent in 2012. Because the first Sunday in Advent was the day when the primate asked everyone to use the new, what was then the new 1962 version of the prayer book. So there's other events leading up to that. We hope to have some educational events and speakers. In the Ottawa area, they're having an essay contest to ask Anglicans to write essays on their experience with the prayer book and maybe publish some of those. There are going to be some commemorative things as well. So we're just now gearing up towards that and putting all that in place. And we hope certainly by the end of the year to have on our website all the things that people can take advantage of to do the celebration.
Okay, so the website is a place for people to access information about the Society and
Absolutely.
Upcoming events, and maybe even finding out how to be a part of that?
That's right. We do have an up-to-date website, and you can check us out. Simply Google Prayer Book Society of Canada, and you'll find there all the links to all the things we do and everything else. So certainly a site worth visiting, and that will have all our events on it.
Do you find that there's a part of the Anglican Church today that certainly within the last 25 years since the Book of Alternative Services has come out, that are developing more of an interest in a sense, rediscovering some of the aspects of the Book of Common Prayer? Is that something that's coming up at all with your society?
I think that's very true, Rob, that, you know, I remember back to the late 80s when the Book of Alternative Services was first published, there was really a sense of one or the other. Mm-hmm. So you were for the BAS, you were for the BCP, and never the twain shall meet. Right. So that was part of the controversy and the heat around things, you know, 25 years ago now. Now there's much more a sense of why can't you use both? And why can't we live with both? Right. And you can appreciate the best in the prayer book while still liking something that's in the Book of Alternative Services. Right. And there's a sense of that in our church structures and hierarchy as well. So while there were a number of bishops hostile to the Prayer Book Society when it first was formed, because it was felt this was divisive, now you find bishops actually supportive. Mm-hmm. And I was delighted that when I was named national chairman, that both of our bishops here in Huron wrote me personal notes of congratulations. So I feel completely supported by my own bishops in doing this, and they are supportive of the work I'm doing. So that's part of the real sea change that's happened over the last 25 years.
And isn't it, I guess, good news for us throughout the church in Canada then, that we can embrace the traditions that have brought us to this place and hold those up, and at the same time incorporate some newness as well, and be able to take those two sides and bring them together, because ultimately it's about coming together and worshiping in the best vibrant way we can, and there's deep meaning on both sides for people, isn't there?
That's right. I think well spoken, Rob, that it's really how can we worship God in the best way? And for some it's one way and some another, but can't we live with a diversity which suggests that we approach God and can celebrate in these diverse ways, and yet the object in the end is still the Lord we all share.
Well, we look forward to the celebration next year. We look
Thank you.
forward to finding out more and seeing some of the events and things that are going to be coming up, and we'll make sure we take a look at that website and follow that as we head into the 50th anniversary of the Canadian edition of the Book of Common Prayer. And again, if you want to find out more information, you're invited to log on or get a hold of Gordon, and I'm sure will put you into the right places and connect you with the right people to be involved in some way. For Life and Faith, I'm Reverend Rob Henderson.
We appreciate your feedback on the show. Or if you have any upcoming events in your faith community, please contact Doug Croden by emailing doug@anchorvideo.com. If you'd like to view any of our past programs, check out the video archives at lifeandfaith.ca. For those with mobile devices, you can also connect from here to our YouTube site.